Welcome students to the online study. Today we will see the explanation of lesson number 3, The Little Girl, written and composed by Catherine Mansfield. Let's have the detail about the writer, Catherine Mansfield. She was born on 14th October 1988. She was a prominent short story writer. She was born and brought up in New Zealand. Later on, she was migrated to United Kingdom, where she became a friend of modern writers. In that company of modern writers, she developed the skill of writing stories and poems. Thus, she became very eminent and prominent writer. Have a look on the theme of this lesson, the little girl. Children have natural attachment with their parents. That is a well-known fact that children will have natural attachment with the parents. They always desire to receive love and affection from their parents. But sometimes the behavior of parents becomes rude and strict. That causes children to feel a sense of separation between them and their parents. They do not understand the fact that why their parents are behaving so rudely, so strictly, but they understand one thing, that due to this rudeness, they are getting separated from their parents. On the other hand, the parents who are strict, who are rude towards their children, it is with a reason that they want their children to succeed in their life. Sometimes they become so strict so that their children could have a good future, a good career. So this is the mentality of the parents. Sometimes they are rude so that their children could go ahead and succeed in their life and make their fortune, make their career. So in order to teach them, they became rude and strict. But the children, they do not understand this thing, but they think that the parents are rude on them and they are distracted from this thing. They do not understand, they fail to understand the other side of the rudeness and the strictness of their parents. Let's begin the explanation. The story of a girl, Kezia, is this little girl. This little girl is afraid of her father. Why she is afraid of her father? It's because her father is strict and rude towards her. When she wake up in the morning, her father would go to the office or the workplace. Now, casually, her father would kiss her on the forehead. And Kezia also, she says goodbye to her father. Now, when her father would sit on the carriage and go to the workplace, she could hear the sound of the carriage wheel getting fainter and fainter. As The sound of the carriage becomes fainter and fainter, weaker and weaker. She sensed a kind of relief in her. She felt a kind of relief in her. Why? Because she understood, or she understand, that her father is getting away from the house. Then he will return back in the evening. So she sensed a feeling of relief in getting away from her father. It's due to her fear. Now Kezia would spend her day, but in the evening, when the father returned back to the home, she is anxious. She becomes worried. She is afraid. Even though her father is a very successful businessman. But for Kezia, he is a figure of fear. He is somebody whom Kezia always fear. And when Kezia talked to her father, she stutters. She could not speak or utter the words properly. She would stuck in words and could not utter or speak anything. This is out of her fear. Now when in the evening her father would return back to his home, Kezia is afraid. But there is a work that is assigned to Kezia in the evening time, when her father would come tired and exhausted from the office. Kezia, this girl, helped him to remove his boots. Her mother tells her that it is her reward for being a good girl that day. Kezia stutters also, but only when she speaks to her father. This is due to her fear. She stuck up in the words. She could not speak properly to her father. And there was a little conversation carried out between Kezia and her father. One day, there happened something strange in that family of Kezia. Her father prepared some speech that was to be delivered before the local port authority. This speech was prepared by her father, and her father kept it on the table and went somewhere. At that same time, Kezia's grandmother, she tells Kezia that in the next coming week, it is the birthday of Kezia's father. So why can't she gift him something? And the grandmother, furthermore, told Kezia to make up a pin cushion for her father so that she could give it as a present, as a gift on his birthday. So Kezia, she brought a cover in order to make a pin cushion. And she could not understand what should be filled in this cover. She searched for a lot of things by which she can fill up this cushion cover. She could not find anything. But when she entered into the room of her father, she had seen many papers laying on the table. Now remember that These are the papers of speech that was prepared by Kezia's father. Important documents or important papers are they. So Kezia, she thought, why can't she fill up this pin cushion cover with these papers? So immediately she tear down all the papers and making a bunch of papers she filled in the cushion cover. After that she stitched that cushion and prepared it as a gift for her father. Now Kezia did this with an intention to present her father on his birthday. According to her, she did nothing wrong. Her intention was good. Her thought was good. She prepared the cushion, filled the cushion with the papers, and she was happy that she felt happy that perhaps her father could feel happy and delighted over the present that she had prepared. Now afterwards, when her father entered into the room, he saw that the papers in which he had written the speech were missing. This was a kind of shock for him. Just now he wrote speech on the papers and put them on the table. Now the papers were missing. He began to search for the papers because they were so important for him, that contained the speech which has to be delivered before the local port authority. So he searched for the papers here and there, in all the rooms, and everywhere where he could search, he searched for the paper, but could not find the paper. He was not able to find the paper. Lastly, he called Kezia's mother and asked her whether she had seen the papers. And Kezia's mother, she approached Kezia and asked whether she had seen the paper or not, whether she had taken the paper or not. Now when the mother of Kezia asked this question to Kezia, that had she taken the papers, she was very shocked. Why? It's because it is she who had taken the papers of her father, important papers of her father, and tear them and put them inside the cushion cover. She did not speak anything. She did not speak anything. Finally, the father got so angry, and she was dragged out by her father, and her father and mother realized that she had torn the papers in order to make the pin cushion. And her father was so angry, and he had beaten her so harshly. She began to sob and cry. She wanted to say that, "Father, it's for your birthday present." But her father was so angry, he would not listen to her. He had not listened to her. And after this incident, Kezia's grandmother comes and pick her up in her arms and console her. One day, Kezia, she had seen Mr. MacDonald, who lived to the next door And a sight that she had seen made her to think that in the world there are different types of fathers. She happened to see the gentle, loving father playing with his children. The sight that she had seen was that Mr. MacDonald, who was a father of 5 children, he was playing with his children. His children, they were hanging around him. Some of them, they climbed on the shoulder. Some of them, they were hanging on his arms. She also finds that children have no fear of their father. Now this was the sight that changed her mentality. That made her to think that in the world there are different types of fathers. Kezia compared his father and Mr. MacDonald. See here the difference. Kezia's father is strict, rude. He would not play with Kezia, nor does he talk to Kezia nicely or in a good manner, and did not show any affection or emotion towards her. While Mr. MacDonald, being a father of 5 children, he is playing with his children. And his children are not getting afraid of his father. And that impacted this girl to think that there could be different types of father. There would be father who would be rude and strict like her father. And there are fathers in the world who are just like MacDonald, who plays with his children. Hence, she realized that all fathers are not the same. She came into a conclusion that all the fathers, they are not the same. Suddenly, one day, Kezia's mother fell ill. She became ill. And her grandmother had taken her to the hospital. Now this is what happened to Kezia's mother. One day, she fell ill, and the grandmother, had taken Kezia's mother to the hospital. Now in such situation, Kezia was all alone in the home. She was with the cook, Alice. But Alice, being a cook or a servant in this house, she was a little concerned about Kezia. She knew that the grandmother and the mother of Kezia had gone to the hospital. She knew that her father would return late in the night or in the evening. So this Alice, the cook, she made her to sleep on the bed and asked her not to disturb her father. So after that, she had gone to her room. Kezia is on her bed trying to sleep. Now one thing that is very important here, Kezia is a small girl. She often had nightmares. Nightmares are the terrifying, dreadful dreams that comes in our mind while we are sleeping. So often she had such nightmares in which she saw somebody coming to her with a knife in order to kill her, and she would scream and get up from the sleep, and she would cry, and she becomes so frightful and afraid of this dream. So Alice told that if you see any dream or nightmare, do not disturb your father, since he is so exhausted, tired, he is taking rest. And saying this, Alice departed from Kezia, and Kezia is struggling to sleep. Somehow she fell into sleep, and immediately she saw a nightmare in which a man who was smiling or laughing and following Kezia in order to kill her with a knife. Immediately, Kezia rose up from the sleep. She began to scream. She began to weep. She was very afraid of the nightmare. Her father heard her screaming and came into her room. He takes her to his bed in his arm, and this way her father tried to put her into sleep. She was laying beside her father, just clinging to the chest of her father. She felt the heartbeat of her father. She felt great relief and comfort while laying beside her father. She realized one thing. Even though her father seemed to be strict and rude, her father is a gentleman. Her father is a good person. She felt the safety in the arms of her father. And she understands one more thing, that like Mr. MacDonald, her father had no time to play with her, because he would go to work, he would go to office, and from office, when he will come back to the home, he will be very tired, he will be very exhausted, so that he could not get time to play with Kezia. She realized and understand the heart of our father. Happily still she crept close to him and lay beside him. Hence she realized that her father has a big heart. She forgot that her father had been rude and strict. This time she felt a sense of relief, comfort, and relax in the arms of her father. This is the story about Kezia, who understood that her father had a big heart to accept her, to love her, to take care of her in such a fearful situation when she is afraid of nightmare. This is how the writer brings the two sides of parent and children relationship. Children, they expect love, care, and emotional attachment from the parents, while parents, they sometimes becomes rude and strict for the betterment of their children.